Peace, Israel, and Yah bless. It is currently what the heathen refer to as January the 1st of the year that they call 2018. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in the upstate of South Carolina. And the title of this lesson is Happy New Year. Oh, really? Once again, this lesson is entitled Happy New Year. Oh, really? Once again, brace yourselves, tighten up your jaws, don't look to the left or to the right. You don't want to get hit in the mouth. We must walk the straight way, following the Most High's commandments, all those commandments that we were given at the first. We will start, get your books, most definitely get your books. This is a very late lesson. It's currently 1:42 on the East Coast. We will start off in Exodus chapter 12. Exodus chapter 12, and we will read verse 1 and 2. In Exodus chapter 12, verse 1 reads, And Yah spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, verse 2, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So the house of Israel was given a strict commandment of when the year begins and what month is the first month of the year. All right. Now, let's go to Exodus chapter 13, verse 4. We'll move over one chapter. Exodus chapter 13, verse 4. And verse 4 of Exodus chapter 13 reads, This day came ye out in the month of Abib. Okay, the house of Israel, we came out of Egypt in the first month of the year. That is the month of Abib. That translates to modern day April. Okay, so the beginning of months unto us, the first month in the year unto us, as it was commanded by the Most High to Moshe, we were instructed that the first month of the year to us is the month of Abib. You are to remember that. Next, let's go to Exodus chapter 23. Exodus chapter 23, and we'll read verse 15. And verse 15 of Exodus chapter 23 reads, And thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. So once again, once we came out of Egypt, the month Abib, the first month of the year, is when we came out of captivity. Okay, that is the same month as Passover. Passover begins on the 14th at evening, not Easter. Yah's Passover. Okay, so this is to reiterate that point. Now let's stay in Exodus, and we'll move to Exodus chapter 34, and we will read verse 18. Exodus chapter 34 in verse 18 reads, The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month Abib. For in the month Abib thou camest out from Egypt. Once again, we came out of Egypt in the very first month of the year, as it was commanded unto us, the month Abib. Okay, so this can be substantiated in many places, and I'm just going over this. That way it can be validated. That way you can refrain yourself from the foolishness of the Happy New Year and all the other things that the heathen takes part in. You are to separate yourselves from it. Now, let's go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, and we will read verse 1. And verse 1 of Deuteronomy chapter 16 reads, Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto Yah thy strong one. For in the month of Abib, Yah thy strong one brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Okay, once again, this is Passover. Okay, there's already a video up. Easter, no. It is Yah's Passover. You get a chance to, if you have not looked at that video, look at it. That way you understand clearly that Easter is a farce. It is a lie. So is New Year. So is Christmas and all the other holidays of the heathen. We were not given holidays. We were given holy days. And there is a difference. Okay. Now, let's go to Exodus. Let's go back to Exodus. We will go to Exodus 23. Exodus chapter 23, and we'll read verse 5. Matter of fact, no, let's go to Leviticus. Let's go to Leviticus 23, and we'll read verse 5. Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus chapter 23, and we will read verse 5. And verse 5 reads, In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yah's Passover. Not Easter, Passover. The first month on the 14th day, that is the month of Abib. And that is the same night when we were thrust out of Egypt. That month is the month in which our year begins. Okay, so that is clear to you. Now, let's look at Leviticus chapter 28. Leviticus chapter 28. Nope. One second. Not Leviticus chapter 8. One second. All right. Correction. Not Leviticus. Let's go to Numbers chapter 28. Numbers chapter 28. And we will read verse 16. Numbers chapter 28, verse 16. And it reads, In the 14th day of the month is the Passover of Yah. Okay. So this all comes back to the month of Abib. Now we will finish up with one last scripture, and we'll go to the book of Daniel for this. Okay, let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 10. Book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 10. And verse 10 of Daniel chapter 12 reads, Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. So what we are to understand clearly is this. The Most High said clearly, I've just done a video that made plain to those who do not understand why they do not understand. The Most High said, if you come to the prophets trying to inquire of him, he will answer you according to the multitude of your idols, which will not be good. He's not going to deal with you. So do understand, as we are scattered in the nations currently, many of us are now, the Most High is putting his spirit upon us to where we now are beginning to understand who we are and what we are to do in order to honor the Most High, and how we are to correct the errors of our ways. In order for us to gain the knowledge, we must do the same thing our forefathers had to do in the days of old. They had to go to the prophets to inquire of Yah. And we, in these many nations of our captivity, we have to do the same exact thing. The Most High does nothing unless he reveals it to his prophets first. He gives it to the prophets. The prophet gives it to the people. Now, with that said, the Most High makes plain also that he gives us the end in the beginning. Okay, so we have everything up front. We don't need no such thing as no John the Revelator revealing anything. Everything was revealed to us up front. The Most High is up front with his people. All right, so I want you to keep this in mind. So now Daniel was told that the book is sealed until the time of the end. So you see many Israelites coming forth now and sharing much information and knowledge that most people have never even considered, never knew, never understood. So it is clear that we are in the time of the end with all the knowledge and the wisdom that's being increased in the many nations of the earth, and it is being done by men of the house of Israel. Now, some things I want you to understand. Nebuchadnezzar was in the land for 70 years before he was removed out of the land. The Israelis will be in the land officially on paper May 4th of this coming year. Israel has been scattered roughly about 400 years on the northern part of the earth. Keep in mind, we came out of Egypt in the beginning of months, in the month of Abib, right about April, May time frame. Okay? And this is when we were actually redeemed out of Egypt. So, let's take a close look at what takes place in the earth between now and May 4th, or shortly thereafter, because we know the Most High does some things on the behalf of his people right around the start of the year, and not January 1st. That's not the start of the year. We've already just discussed that the start and the beginning of months unto us is the month of Abib, which is April, which is the spring. Okay, so we will see exactly what takes place with these numbers, with the knowledge that's being brought forth now. We're seeing the UN, as well as the UN has voted against the US as well as the Israelis, and you're seeing them being isolated by the nations. With this taking place, you also see the many nations coming against the men of Israel and the women of Israel that are scattered in the many nations. But also what you have is many different doctrines being taught by the house of Israel. So we are on one accord that we are Israel, where the problem is everyone is mentioning and worshiping someone different. Okay, some people are waiting for some man to come through the sky. At one time, Moshe was our intercessor, but we were only in one country, that's Egypt. Israel has been scattered to the four corners. We're in all the nations of the earth. No one man can be in all the nations at once. That is why clearly in Deuteronomy chapter 30, the Most High said clearly, he will come and gather us out of the nations where he scattered us. JC didn't scatter us any place, so he's not coming to get us from anywhere. Okay, the Most High said simply, I'll come and get you, Israel. Once you return to my law, I will come and get you from all the nations where I scattered you. So it's going to be a momentous occasion. That is why you're seeing everything take place at the UN right now. All the nations are aware of what's going on, because as the Most High lift up his hand against these nations on the behalf of his people, all the inhabitants of the earth must bear witness to it. That includes the house of Israel. Now, with that said, what we will be sure to know is exactly of all the many different camps and of all the many different doctrines. It will be made clear when the Most High lift up his hand against these nations on the behalf of his people. We will know a few things clearly. We will know exactly who the Most High is. We will know exactly if this book is real or not. We will know exactly which of the men of the house of Israel are teaching the word in accordance to the Most High's law and in the manner in which he has instructed his prophets to do it. So we will know exactly who is right and who is wrong. Okay, so this will be made plain for everyone to see. All right, and that's why you're seeing such a big thing going on now with the UN, etc., because those that are in the land, they must be removed, they will be removed, and we all will see it. All right, and so we will get a better understanding of all of this, because the Most High has to, he has to prove us. Most importantly, that's how we bear witness to who, to him being who he is, or who he says he is. So we must witness all of these things. So right now, all of our watchmen are vigilant. There is discord among many of us, not only in the Israelite community, but you're seeing a lot of rift in all the other communities of the house of Israel in the many nations. So there's going to be some upheaval. There's going to be some violence. Okay, and there's going to be some killing on a grand scale. So let's sit back and continue to lift our hands in prayer, facing Jerusalem, calling upon the Most High, asking him to have mercy upon us and our household during the time of trouble, because it is coming. Anyway, Israel, ensure that you are doing all the things that are right in the sight of the Most High, that you can do in the many lands of your captivity. And for all those who are of a contrite spirit, that are of the other nations, ensure that you do the same. Okay, because there's not much time and there's too much reading. Okay, at this point, you don't have the time to comb through the book and get a full understanding. So you need to ask the Most High to put his spirit upon you, that you may be of quick understanding. Okay, that way you will know in the time of trouble which way to go. Just keep in mind, the information that I'm sharing with you is exactly that information. Okay, so you have two sets of information in which to choose from, and there will be a point where you will have to make a choice. Will you side with the Most High and his laws and his prophets, or will you go after idols and make believe prophets? Okay, these 12 disciples are nothing but a play on the 12 tribes of Israel. So I want you to really consider exactly what you're doing. You are to be shown your errors, and once you realize what those errors are, you are to make a decision on which way you should go. Anyway, Israel, thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. This is not the new year. This is an occasion celebrated by the heathen throughout the earth. They're lighting up all types of fireworks. They're getting drunk and doing all manners of foolishness. Israel, you were never commanded to do this. Number one. And your creator instructed you specifically that the beginning of your months are in the month of Abib. It is not in this modern day January. Be wary of these Romans. Be wary of the enemies of the Most High, who he lists by name in Psalms 83. You are in the midst of your enemies. You are to be reminded of that, and you will surely be reminded of it. That I can assure you. Anyway, Israel, peace, and Yah bless. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Peace.